there, Aquarius, and welcome to your May 2020 Creativity Tarot reading. My name is Kayleigh Jean, and welcome to my channel. I record these readings for artists, entrepreneurs, and anyone who is interested in their personal growth, self-expression, or spirituality in any form. So if those areas of life are important for you right now, I encourage you to go ahead and keep listening. I also want to say really quickly, you can use this reading for your sun, moon, or your rising sign, and it's also possible if sometimes they don't resonate, particularly at the beginning of the month. So if you hear this the first time and it doesn't make sense, I encourage you to experiment a little bit with that and come back to this video at the end of May and see what connections you may be able to find. Okay, so Aquarius, while I was tuning in for you, I had this kind of mysterious image of someone wearing like a cloak, and I couldn't really see their face, but they were walking away almost through like the shadows, and it felt like they were sort of taking something from one place to another. So it's a very almost kind of mythic image, I would say, an archetypal image of almost like a passage, but it's a passage in a way that isn't necessarily out in the bright and open, but it is this sort of progress that's being made either like behind the scenes or in the shadows. And actually, as I reflected on this, the larger meaning that came through was that there's something in your creative or your professional life that you're sort of being conveyed towards. And I think that it's kind of hard to acknowledge this sometimes because we may feel like we're being naive, or we may feel as though there is something about the way that we're approaching, our work, that maybe we're just being kind of silly in some way. But the thing that's actually true, I feel, for you, Aquarius, is that life is connecting you with the people, the ideas, and the themes that you need to have in your awareness so that you can do some kind of like important work. And I think that that is something, again, that is like hard to admit, because we may almost have that intuition about like, wow, I feel like I'm being synchronistically connected to a lot of information that all seems to be coalescing and aligning with something that's taking shape. And I don't necessarily feel like I'm the one directing all of it, because how am I getting fed all of these different tools, techniques, and strategies that are coming from different places, but they're all sort of aligning in this very mysterious way to connect me and like pull me forward. Like, that's the sensation I think that you have right now. And I feel like it's really amusing how sometimes when you have that feeling, it's really hard to communicate it to other people. And in fact, it may not even necessarily be the best thing to communicate to other people, because other people are going to maybe, especially if they're not really aligned with the concept of synchronicity, or they're not really paying attention to synchronicity in their own life, they may not really see your point because they can't experience your subjective emotional reality. And your internal subjective emotional reality right now is basically saying, wow, how is this all coming together? And again, it could be mental, like things coming together in your mind. Like, I guess I want to say almost analogies that are coming from totally different spheres of influence, totally different spheres of thought, totally different industries. And you're seeing how it combines, or it can kind of mirror patterns and truths in other parts of your life, other industries, and so on. And so you're really connecting the dots right now. And I think that that is something for you to trust. I think it's important for you to lay credence to this feeling that you have, this feeling of the intersection of points of meaning that I think you're maybe having a difficult time expressing to other people, or maybe you haven't even tried. But I think it's really important that you, at very first, validate that feeling, because that is the feeling of you connecting more directly with your life, Aquarius. That's what I really want to say. And I know that that's a really big message, but I feel like this is something that you're also meant to hear, which is that you are being given, synchronistically, you are being given everything that you need in order to follow the scent of whatever this work is for you. Follow the scent means trusting your instincts, right? Because it's an animal phrase, right? Like I think of like a bloodhound or something. It's like follow the scent. Life is putting little traces of the scent in front of you, and you're meant to follow those. And you have to be the one to give yourself permission to do that. Nobody else can do that for you. So those are the meditation messages. Let's get some practical insights with your cards as far as how you can move forward with this energy. Wow. And even as I cut the deck, I see the Magician and the Fool. So freaking spot on for that message. Wow, that's just amazing. Aquarius, spirits, please give us clear, living, and accurate messages for Aquarius. Okay. Let's take a look here. We have Hyena. I feel like you guys have gotten that somewhat recently as well. Maybe somebody can let me know in the comments. But you've got Hyena and Phoenix. Wow. This is insanely powerful, you guys. This is crazy. So, yeah, wow. So much. There's so much that I want to say. So, first of all, what is coming through as far as the astrology of this month and how it connects to your sign and to this little reading that we've already started with. The Hyena card shows the moon, and it's a last quarter moon, or it could be first quarter, but it's like partially dark and partially lit up. And this to me is speaking of the full, which is the lit up part, and the new moon this month. So we have a full moon in Scorpio on May 7th, which is in your 10th house of career and visibility in the world. So that's magnificent, first of all. And then you have the new moon in Gemini in your 5th house, which is, again, it's a positive aspect. It's a trine to your sign. Air energy is definitely aligned with you. And it's in your 5th house, which is, you know, it's a good house. It's a great house. You're going to have new beginnings as far as creativity, entrepreneurship. It could also be like fertility-wise or health-wise. It's good energy for you when you have a new moon in your 5th house. So it's definitely symbolic of a time of greater creativity, right? Because it's your 5th house, manifesting in changes and culminations and completions as well as new beginnings in your greater, like almost like your career purpose in life, which is the Scorpio 10th house, symbolically for Aquarians. Obviously, it'll be different if your rising sign is different, but in general, you know, from a solar perspective, Scorpio is your 10th house. So this is really big because it shows that your creativity and your self, the movement that you do for yourself to move yourself forward is going to potentially impact the visibility of what you do in the world. And it will potentially could be changing the path of your professional life. So with the Hyena, this is about overcoming self-criticism. And this is your path. So it's not easy. And I just want to say that, you know, I do these readings. I come on here on YouTube. I have challenges that I run. I teach courses. I I do a lot of creative work. I also have my own personal creative work with writing and fiction and just other things that I do. And I have to say that the creative path is not for everyone. And the fact that you're here on this channel and that you are tuning into this reading just, I think, is an affirmation that this is the path that you're on, at least right now. And it's not easy. You know, you really are putting yourself out there, and there's a lot of vulnerability, and there's a lot of exposure to rejection, or there's exposure to obstacles that come up in our way as creators. We have to deal with technical issues. We have to deal with a lot of personal growth and a lot of frustration at times. And so when I see this as your path, I want to really acknowledge that you're doing really powerful work. And it may not always feel easy because you could be being really hard on yourself. A lot of times that's what the hyena represents, is being hard on ourselves and being a little almost like snarky with yourself. Like if you work on something and you work really hard, and then you might look at it afterwards and be like, that's all that I came up with. But in truth, when someone else sees it, right? Like when someone else consumes your content or reads your book or hears you recite one of your poems, it's like they like love it. They love it. And that's not always the case, obviously, but a lot of the time the things that we're hard on ourselves about are not the things that other people are hard on us about at all. They don't even notice. And so that's where the Phoenix energy comes in as the influence. So the Phoenix is really showing you rising above that. And see the Phoenix, it represents the base of the spine. So it's showing the energy of life moving up from the base chakra. So it's like energy is able to transform and turn into a higher vibration of itself. And so when we see that, we have this like shadow aspect of the hyena, which is like about fears that we might almost replace with sarcasm, or we might be, you know, being hard on ourselves and being perfectionistic, but what's underneath that is fear. And so when we look at these cards, it's like you're really rising above that. You're rising above that tendency to put yourself down, or that tendency to, you know, hold something back. And I think with the Phoenix, this is really powerful. So you're going through a major transformation. This is a crucial point for Aquarians, and it makes sense as well with Saturn in your sign right now. And there's just a lot, there's a lot going on astrologically for all of us. But I do think that it's time to rise above whatever like psychological thought processes that you've been engaged in within yourself. I think that this draw really shows you overcoming that and really rising anyway. And I think that in that process, there's a major transformation of both like the quality and the quantity of your energy, your physical energy, your mental energy, your emotional energy. I think you're going to be feeling really motivated. So let's take a look at your cards and we'll get some more insight. Oh, I turned over the world at the same time. So we have the Eight of Wands, the Death card, which makes sense because that's the time that we have that Scorpio full moon. With the Eight of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles, we've got the World, Judgment, Ace of Cups, and Eight of Swords. So we've got 3 8s here. That's definitely significant. 8 is a power number, a personal power number. It's also the number that I associate with kind of reaching different levels, you know, because like I think of 4 as, you know, a good symbol of our physical reality in a way, because for a table to be strong, it has to have 4 legs. Or if we have a house, you know, the most simplest form of that is 4 walls and a ceiling. And so there's something about the number 8 that represents like a transcendence or like a higher octave of that. And I don't know if you've ever had dreams about like multi-story homes, like where something will be going on in the dream at the bottom story, and then you go upstairs and something's happening upstairs that's different. That's a dream motif that I have had that's very memorable to me. And that also for me is associated with the number 8, because it's like on one level we have, yes, we have this particular type of reality, we have this going on, but if we go up, if we raise our vibration up, or we are able to access a different level of consciousness, we see that there's this whole other dimension, you know? And that goes both ways. It can go higher and lower. It can go, you know, all over the place. So there is definitely something about leveling up here with the 8 of Wands and the Death card. Something is swiftly moving towards a completion. And again, for many of you, I think that this could be in your professional life, because it's happening around that Scorpio full moon in your 10th house. And here we have the Scorpio card, and we have the 8 of Wands, which is showing swift movement. So something's rapidly transforming and shifting and changing in your career life in the first week of May. But I do think that it's leading to a greater sense of independence for you, because we have in the second week of May, we've got the 8 of Pentacles with the 7 of Pentacles. So when we see this, there is a difference obviously in the numbers, a 7 and 8. We've got one less pentacle in the 7. So, and because the 7 came up after, there could be something that is being subtracted from your, I guess, professional life. But I think that what it's doing is it's opening like spaciousness for you, Aquarius. So by the second week of May, I see you actually being very productive, very clear of your purpose, very much committed to whatever you're doing. And I think that if some of you guys are gardeners, for example, you could literally be gardening in the second week of May, but it could also be figurative gardening. And what I mean by that is tending to whatever gives you abundance in your life. And I don't just mean like financial abundance, although that can be a really big piece here that you'd be working towards. It can also be stability or a sense of security in your life, getting things in order, getting your house in order, being industrious and conscientious and respectful of, you know, the different elements of your life, and really treating the different areas of your life with importance, you know. So you could be working on a relationship and really finding ways to make the relationship better and to show up and do your best, and helping the other person do their best. And it could also be just as easily you starting a new career or engaging in a different type of role in your career, and just really, but what I get ultimately from these is that there's like a newfound industriousness showing up in your life in the second week of May, and you just have this attitude of care, like you freaking care about this, like you're showing up like that archetype of the most caring, the very informed gardener, right? The gardener that checks the weather and reads the almanac and gardens by the moon and puts minerals in the soil and uses, you know, good things to keep pests away, for example, that are like non-toxic. Like you're doing that in your own life. And it almost makes my eyes water a little bit for you, Aquarius, because I'm like, oh, you're doing so good. You know, like you're doing so good. You're covering all the details. And I think that this requires a lot from you. It requires a lot, but I think that you're going to really start to see the results of this. So I'm really happy for you. I don't know why that makes me emotional, but I just feel like somebody needs to affirm for you that this hard work is going to pay off and that you're doing the right thing. You know, it's way easier to just be the type of gardener that uses toxic, you know, pesticides, or that doesn't care about the environment, or that is just, you know, doing things that are harmful because they're easier. And I don't see that from you. Like, I feel like metaphorically speaking, whatever you're doing in your life, you're doing it with care. You're doing it with a sense of, I'm going to do this right so that it benefits myself and others and it's sustainable, or I'm not going to do it. And that's what we need, you know, like that's what we need on the planet, is people who freaking care about what they're doing. So I love that. And I think that you're doing really well with it. By the third week of May, we have the World and Judgment. So definitely really powerful stuff going on. Both of these cards are major arcana, and they're actually the two last majors in the numbered set of major cards. So what this says to me is that you are going through like a summarization and a culmination, and that's happening throughout the month of May, clearly, because you had that in the first week of May, and you have it again showing up in the third week of May. So summing up of past difficulties, accumulation of knowledge and wisdom, lessons learned, even graduating. Like some of you could be graduating right now from an alternative form of education or a vocational training, or you could be receiving a certificate of some kind. But there's really this sense of like summing up the past and then really recognizing what you've learned and how you've grown, and genuinely making an effort to reflect on that as well. And then seeing that there's so many more opportunities now coming your way as a result of all of that hard work. So that's definitely something I'm seeing as like a culmination energy in the third week of May, but it feels more celebratory than the first week of May. I feel like the first week of May is a little bit more like, whoa, things are moving fast, and it might feel a little raw with the Death card. But by the third week, it's like you feel strong. You feel strong again. You feel that you're right where you need to be, and you can feel that intersection of, your life basically showing you that you have completed a particular aspect of your journey. Now, the last week of May, I want to give you a little bit of a heads up, because with the Eight of Swords and the Ace of Cups, this is a really sweet draw, but you may not necessarily love like the way that it feels. So what I mean by that is the Eight of Swords is a card of not really seeing clearly because our thought process is kind of muddled. And we have maybe belief systems that are tying us up. Like the red on this card represents her personal power. And so here, because the swords represent the mind and she's tied up, it's like her personal power is sort of getting tied up in thought forms that are not true and that are not helpful. And so what I want to recommend to you is really, if you are feeling a little bit of frustration in the last week of May, I want you to write down systematically all of the thoughts that are causing you to have that frustrated feeling. And then I want you to just take a moment and a breath with yourself and leave some space underneath each thought. And then I want you to respond from your higher self to that thought. So if the thought that you're thinking is, I'm so screwed, I don't even know what I'm going to do, I didn't do that great with this or that, and I'm feeling like I'm not so good at whatever I'm trying to do. Like let's say maybe you're in sales and you had a couple people just reject you. You might be telling yourself some kind of story like, oh, I'm just really bad with people. And that's not a true thought. It's just something that you're thinking because you had a moment of rejection and that didn't feel good. But that's not your truth, right? It's just your mind, your monkey mind, reacting in the moment, telling you a silly story. But you're probably in sales, hypothetically, for a reason. Like in this example, that person they would be in sales for a reason because maybe they like talking to people. And if you like talking with people, or if you really believe in whatever you're selling, there's a reason that you're there, and life doesn't just put a desire in your heart that doesn't amount to anything, I think that everything is an opportunity to learn and grow. And so for you to kind of write down whatever crazy story your mind is telling you that's making you feel more stuck, and responding to it with love and with like that higher understanding, I think you can really work through a lot of that frustration, because that's really like the best word for it, I think, is frustration. With the Eight of Swords, it's like that you have a lot of power to change something, but you're frustrated about like, why am I not having success with this right at this second? However, the other message that I get with this Ace of Cups is that once you kind of enter into that more open-minded state of being after working through those negative thoughts, the Ace of Cups is coming through as like a gift from the universe that you need to be paying attention in order to really recognize it. So you are going to be experiencing more joy and more connectedness. And I really get a feeling of purity with this Ace of Cups. So it's like you're going to be able to transcend whatever this sticky mental situation is, because the universe is supporting you in doing that. And I think that you are actually going to get something practical that will help you to feel better within yourself, because you know that you're actually moving towards something that's more productive or better feeling. And so I think that this is just, a sense of, don't get lost in negative thoughts that are actually just not true anyway in that last week. And maybe just knowing about this, like having heard this reading, is going to give you the tools that you need to step out of that mindset. So you may not even really experience that anymore now because you heard this reading, but if it does come up at all, that little bit of frustration, just meticulously work through answering those negative thoughts with your higher wisdom. Okay, so let's take a look at your Bob Ross message. I don't know if you guys got this before. So he says, let's get crazy. What the heck? Take a 2-inch brush. This is your bravery test. And this is so perfect because, again, you've got these powerful culmination energies here, right? You've got the World, you've got Judgment, you've got the 8 of Wands and the Death card, but you also have competency. Aquarius, you have competency. You can rise to whatever this challenge is, and you will. And so the main thing, I think, is to exhibit that bravery, take the 2-inch brush, and just go for it, because that's the whole crux of it. I really believe that that's what we're here for, is, we are embodied in these physical 3D bodies. We're here, but we're connected to something more, something beyond this world. And I think that the more that we can clear and purify and take care of our physical body and make space, within ourselves for what we really care about, the more creative we actually become as human beings. And I think that this month is really like a process of that for you. It's a process of purification, because it's the Phoenix. It's like things that don't serve you are being burned away, right? Things that don't serve you are being burned away. And what's left is your competency. What's left is your freaking care. What's left is you doing your absolute best and just continuing to show up. So that's kind of what I get. I hope that this reading has given you something uplifting and something also of practical use, perhaps, as you go through the month of May. Thank you so much for being here. If you would like to support my channel, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me a little fire emoji below, since you guys got the Phoenix card, if you want to let me know that you're still with me. I absolutely love getting those comments from you guys, and it always warms my heart, and it's super helpful for my channel as well. So thank you so much to those of you who have been commenting, leaving your feedback, and sharing your kind words and thoughts with me. I absolutely love you guys, and I hope that you have an amazing month in May. And I'll put below the information to my lunar self-care course that I am teaching beginning on the full moon in Scorpio on May 7th. So definitely check that out if you want to explore astrology with me. And I hope you guys have an amazing month in May. Take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.